I really did enjoy coming to the library and kind of getting lost in the stacks about things I was interested in.
Yeah.
But having learned about the human sexuality collection years ago and realizing the importance of this as my growth as a gay man who was not out in college, and how this now makes a difference to archive, this, the importance of history and later a movement due to the changes that happened in the last 40 years. That I can talk about. In the last 40 years, I decided to become active and a supporter of it. That's how, oh.
Yes, I'm just thinking you don't have your 40th reunion yet.
Oh, okay.
2 more years.
No,
yeah.
no, 30. Yeah, that's coming up in 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very nice to meet Kara and her daughter Erica here, Kagan.
Oh yeah.
Since we were both class of '77, and we didn't know each other,
Oh,
and
that's so cool.
we become nice friends, and just overnight, her whole and her family, we still miss my brain.
Her dad, I can't remember his name.
Len, the doctor. Yeah.
Doctor, yeah. All right.
Yeah, he's a nice man. So,
So
just
when you're ready, just say,
okay.
I'm Harry Gittleson,
Oh, tell me.
77,
Okay.
and whatever you want to say along those lines. I think that's
So just
good.
basically, so I was not out. When I was at Cornell as a student. In fact, I probably didn't know or was not comfortable. I really didn't understand or have much knowledge of who I was or my sexuality. My only remembrance of seeing anything about the word gay was in 1976 or 77 at the Willard Straight Hall. I once saw a table which kind of shocked me. And then it wasn't until several years later that I, realized who I was. And
Was the table the Cornell Gay Liberation?
that's what that's what it must have been. I didn't know. I just remember the word gay in the title, and I didn't tell you this part.
That's so cool.
And I didn't. And actually, I don't want to sit on tape, but I remember there was a guy from I was in U-Haul 3, and a guy who was on my floor was manning it, who I always used to see with women, and it was like, I remember his name too, and I just was surprised, and it was Cornell. It must have been Cornell Gay Liberation, is what it was.
Yes, that's a great memory. Yeah.
That's the only time I remember seeing anything gay on campus.
Yes, because students now won't believe that, so I think it's worth recording. Yeah.
Okay.
So say that you went out, you saw the table, and what you want to share about what's happened in 40 years and.
In the last.
You find out about the collection, why the collection's even, why it means something to you, why you think it's important to save gay history and anything like that. And if you stumble, we can start over, or you can just keep talking
nice.
And we can edit it.
Okay. Whatever. Yeah, that would be great, because somebody walking here. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Close the door so we have quiet.
Oh, I thought you wanted to talk to them right now. Okay.
No,
I thought maybe a customer's coming in.
No one hardly ever comes down there, but I still close it. All right.
All right, so we'll do a take one here maybe then. So, just,
Go.
well, good afternoon. My name is Harry Gittleson. I was Cornell class of 1977. This was my student ID. I started at Cornell in 1973. Sitting here with Brenda Marston today at the library inside the Human Sexuality Collection. This is my first time back at Cornell, actually, since 1978. And it's been quite an exciting weekend coming back to see the 25th anniversary of the Human Sexuality Collection, of which I've been a supporter, originally introduced to from being a library supporter and learning about this collection, as well as CUGLA coming back for the first ever LGBT reunion. And it's been fast. Should we cut it? I'm sorry. I got all.
That's perfect.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, just keep going.
Can we start again? I'm sorry.
Okay.
I apologize. I didn't know. It's just okay. So you're recording now. So just
Yep.
start. Okay.
That was
Okay.
good.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I think.
Do you want to reverse it or just
No, just go over.
just start it again and you'll edit? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. This is all being recorded now. I realize that. Okay. About Harry's concern about these things being out. Let me start again, Brenda. Okay. Thanks. Well, good morning or good afternoon. My name is Harry Gettelson. I was Cornell class of 1977. I began at Cornell in the fall of 1973, my freshman year, and I actually have my Cornell student ID with me today. And Brenda has asked me to talk about my time at Cornell and later how I became active as a supporter of the collection here, the Human Sexuality Collection at the Cornell Library, Department of Rare Books. And a lot's happened, Brenda. It's first thing to tell you is I wasn't out at Cornell, and people could say, why? Well, this was the 1970s, and it was a different world. It was almost, it was 40 years ago I started here. And I'm sorry, I got to cut it one more time. I'm getting
That's good. And the bit about the
1970s, the
table,
table, okay. All right, we're still running, but we're going to cut this right now. We're going to start again. This is null and void right here, so please cut. Okay, sorry about that, Brenda. Okay, so I'll start again. Okay, ready to roll. Good afternoon. My name is Harry Gettelson. I was Cornell class of 1977. I started at Cornell in the fall of 1973, and I brought my student ID to show you, Brenda. This is it, 1973, my Cornell ID. And, but Harry's ID, me as a person, who was I back in the 1970s? I was a kid from New York who came to Cornell. My dad had also been a Cornellian, and family very proud that I would be second generation at Cornell. And all of this was very important. And I wasn't in touch with really who I was at the time. I guess deep down maybe I had feelings, knew who I was and so forth, but didn't really know. I don't know how else to say if anyone's listening to this, but if you grew up in the 1960s or the 1970s, it was a lot different than what today's generation is going through in terms of, very early on knowing people are born the way who you are, and there's nothing wrong with being born with the way who you are, because we're all people created whoever we are, biologically, physiologically, that's it. And for me to learn that took a lot of time. And Brenda, you asked me, to talk about gay life in the 1970s when I was a student, and I emailed you back and I said, what gay life? And I didn't know anything. I was a frat boy, dated, and I went one time, I remember, to the Willard Straight Hall, and this was my senior year, and I remember seeing a table for student activities once, which really shocked me, that basically was, I think it was called Gay Student Liberation, and that's the only time I ever remember seeing anything with the word gay on campus at Cornell. And I graduated Cornell. I moved on with my life. It really wasn't until several years after that where I started to evolve as a gay man. And I moved to California, where I went to graduate school. Now live in Los Angeles. And it's, what happened? Okay, okay. Should we cut and start again now?
No, we can edit it, so just go from there. That was great.
Okay, I'm sorry. You can.
Sorry, I was just telling them, don't interrupt.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Can I start again? I hate to do this to you one more time now.
But that was great. But go ahead.
All right, I'm sorry to do this. Because I just get consistency. Okay, I'll do it better now. All right, again, we're null and void on the last one. Promise, final take 4. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Harry Gettelson. I'm very pleased to be invited to be doing one of these interviews with Brenda Marston today. Visiting for the Cornell reunion, for the first ever color reunion. And I started here at Cornell in 1973. Here is my student ID card. And I graduated in 1977. And Brenda asked me to talk about gay life at Cornell back in the 1970s. And when you asked me, I emailed you back, I said, what gay life? I was a frat boy. I dated. I didn't know who I was. I guess I had inner feelings and so forth, but I never expressed myself because there was a way we were supposed to be, and I guess I was conforming to that way at the time. But I do remember, Brenda, probably my senior year, being in the Willard Straight Hall one time, seeing a table that said gay liberation, which totally shocked me because I knew the word gay and what it meant, but I never thought there was anything at Cornell. So for me, there wasn't anything of gay life which, exists at Cornell today, which is so, proud to see the changes that have evolved for the next generation and making it, easier for people to really realize who they are, and we're all born the way we're born, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what's really important. I think that's what we dealt with in the 1970s, because as we talked about earlier, it wasn't until late 1973 that the American Psychiatric Association depathologized homosexuality. So maybe for those who are listening to this, you could understand that me being a student here in the 1970s and even having maybe deep inner feelings, not knowing what those feelings were, but knowing whatever those were, those feelings may have been wrong or something wrong, and you're supposed to be a certain way, and you want to be that way like everybody else, just like other students you're friends with. And so it was several years after I was out of Cornell that I evolved, more as a gay man, and became accepting and just more active and so forth. And as we've talked about the last 40 years since 1973, 40 years plus, things that have happened, I became active in some of the gay rights movements in the 1980s and so forth, or just active in the community, realizing that people want to meet other people like themselves. So I was active with the Business and Professional Association in Los Angeles. Later became active with some of the organizations, very sadly, to help with the AIDS crisis, and moving further from time to time being active with some of the local initiatives that would happen with gay rights in California, or then getting involved with Human Rights Campaign. And so it's always been an evolution of how one person can make a difference, and that's something I truly believe very much in, and how I got involved, and to the point I'm at right now, where I am now happily married to my partner, who was my partner for 15 years, and we could legally get married, and we did last year in California, and we're both very proud about that. So this has been a great evolution for us. And with that said, Brenda asked me to talk about my involvement with the collection here, the Human Sexuality Collection. I had been active as a Cornell donor to the library in particular, which I've always enjoyed. I remember from my years at Cornell always coming to the library, and if I wanted to study something, just kind of, something to do with none of my classes, but a subject I was interested in, you could always truly find it. As Cornell said, whichever you wanted to study, you'd find it in the stacks here at Cornell. And so when I learned about the Human Sexuality Collection, I had communicated with Brenda by email a number of times and became a donor. I was proud when Brenda was doing a brochure to be involved with that. And my involvement with this brochure about the Human Sexuality Collection, having been involved with a number of LGBT organizations, which is the word we call it. It used to be gay and lesbian, I remember. Now it's LGBT. I felt there's so much material out there that other organizations need to know that Cornell is the go-to place to become the archives or for research. And myself being a proud Cornellian, I felt that I wanted to be involved with this collection and to help make it happen, and to help make other organizations aware that we're very important with what Cornell can bring to them, and vice versa. And so that's a lot of my involvement with the collection. I've always had fun with, if I find a book or something, send it in, or doing other things for the collection in the library. And that's sort of how I've gotten involved with it. It's just very important that everything be documented for the future. I believe for future generations to know that, hey, this is what it was like in the 70s. And I know folks who are older who told me their stories from the 50s and 60s, and how everything has now been an evolution since the last 40 years to the point where we now have gay marriage. Hopefully this will continue. I know it's going to continue, it's not hopefully, because it's all these arcane laws in many states are starting to fall right now. And for those of you who may be watching this in several years, you're going to say, why is Harry even talking about this? Because it's all just part of our lives today. And this all started out with, just being someone, not knowing who you were really deep down, your own self, your own person, your own sexuality in the 70s, to getting to the point today of, hey, everybody's the same, you're comfortable, you're born the way you're born, there's nothing wrong with the way you're born. and having read brochures from those organizations that try to change people, that's why I brought this up. But here we are today, and with this wonderful collection that documents the past. And this will just help everybody for the future to know what had happened and also to prevent things that happened in the past. I always think that's important too with collections. And secondly, sorry to be repetitive, I have again, but for organizations to go to Cornell and know that this can be the place to park their materials, such as HRC has done. And it's critical. It's critical that we keep a record of this so that people can continue to study and know how important the issues of LGBT rights are. And so I hope that I'm making a difference with some of the work I've done helping with this collection in the library. So I thank you for your time today. And anything else you'd like me to share?
Thanks. Do you want to just share what you said about your mother and you and the comment you made at your wedding?
Oh, thank you, Brenda.
Yeah.
Yes. My dad, who I mentioned, went to Cornell as well, had passed away in 2006 and was close with my husband, and had said to me before he passed away, take care of him, which was very nice. And that was, coming from a parent who at first, and it's hard for me to talk about this because I love my father a lot, who was not accepting. And a mother also at first was not accepting. And yet, when people learned, and meet your friends and, get to know more about you through your friends and meet other people, and then, become accepting and more tolerant. It's no longer about tolerance anymore. We're beyond tolerance. We're at the point now where people are people and everybody's accepted as being people, and that's what's important that I can say this today, that I'm hoping that this is what this will be like in the future when somebody might be listening to this. However, at our wedding, I was happy to share my mom met somebody in her life who had been widowed, and they're very happy together now. And so at our wedding, when I was giving my speech, as we all give speeches at weddings and so forth, I was just glad to say to everybody that, I'm very excited to be here with my husband welcoming my mother who flew in from Florida with her partner. So sort of like a change on words. Even 10 years ago when people would talk about so-and-so and their friend or their partner, or, it was very hard for someone to always introduce somebody, and how do they handle the introduction? Because I really am now, this is bringing back those thoughts, like how do you handle introducing somebody who is your, quote, significant other? That was another word we had, or friend or partner. Well, today, husband, wife, we're all the same. And so that was kind of fun when I shared with you earlier, Brenda, to say that in my mother's case, since truly her and this other man are great people living together, to say here I am with my husband and my mom is here visiting with her partner. So it's been a change. And this is a change that's happened very positively right now. And we're going to keep this moving. And this collection is going to document keeping this moving. So anybody from other organizations that might be hearing about this, learning about the Cornell Human Sexuality Collection and their archives and the wonderful talent of Brenda Marston, I really mean this, who has brought this together, this is the place. So thank you very much, Brenda.
Thanks, Gary.